Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing a tier list of the best and worst DPS characters in Season 3.5 of Marvel Rivals. So just to give a little context about me, I've hit at least Celestial or higher every season since the Rikas came out, and I'm currently Celestial 2, High Celestial 2, Early Celestial 1 right now, so I think I have a pretty good understanding of the characters so far in this game and how they are played to their strengths and weaknesses. So today we're going to be talking about that, and let's get right into it. Starting off with Phoenix. Man, when she first came out, I really thought she wasn't going to be as good as Hela. But once I saw her in the trailer and other things like that, man, her damage is just one of the best in this game. So that's why I have to put her in the S tier. Now, she's easily one of the best damage dealers in this game. And not even to mention her ultimate, but it can do so many things in this game. Not just cancel other ultimates, but just to clean up a fight. And that's really what she's good for. Her damage potential is really good, her combo potential is really good, and she can really clean up enemies however each way she wants, either with her ultimate or just with her burst damage that she does with her passive ability, where she builds up enough damage and she kind of explodes the enemy after the third attack. So for that being said, she does so much damage, especially at choke points and other things like that. She can really clear out an area by herself if she really wanted to. So that's why I have to put her in the S tier. Moving on to Black Widow. Now, a lot of people used to think she was trash and, things like that, but I think she's underrated, and I think she's always been underrated. Of course, not a lot of people have the mechanics to use her, kind of like Widow in Overwatch, but if you know how to use her, she's easily cracked, especially with a Mantis and other things like that. So for that being said, I'm going to put her in the A tier just because of her capabilities to do damage and pick off enemies one by one. And if you have a Mantis on your team with the damage boost, man, oh man, she is that freaking good. Like, she can literally one-shot a CD out of their ult with a Mantis damage boost and a headshot. Like, just think about that. Isn't that crazy? That is freaking crazy, man. So just to think about that, things like that, if you have decent, not really decent mechanics, if you have cracked mechanics, you can really make Widow work into any comp. And the reason I didn't put her in S tier is because she can get kind of countered easily by 1v1s, especially if you bait out her stun ability. If you bait that out, she's kind of weak in my opinion, and she can easily get 1v1'd. If you don't hit the headshot, you're screwed. So with that being said, she's easily A tier. Now moving on to Blade. Man, he has seen a lot of changes so far already, like just some buffs, and let's be honest, we all know that's not enough for his kit. When we think of Blade, we think of his sword, just the slashing with his blade, it's like, but that's not the most powerful part of his kit, and it's really sad to see. Now, I think his best kit, his best ability right now is his primary attack, which is kind of sad, and the anti-heal, which is kind of sad. Like, he needs more changes to his kit, and he needs to do a lot more damage just with the lifesteal and the damage, or the damage reduction to himself. It's just very bad right now, I'm not gonna lie. Now, will he have the same treatment as maybe a Rocket or a Wolverine when they first came out? Everyone thought they were trash, or his kit just wasn't up to par, so they changed him a little bit. Who knows? He may end up like Rocket, where he just gets the changes he needs and he'll be just fine and fit right into the current state of the game. But for right now, I'm going to have to put him in D. I'm just going to have to. He's just that bad of a character right now. It seems like you need a pocket on him on all times, even if you're frontlining with him, because some people have tried the flank playstyle with him, some people have tried the frontline playstyle with him, and either way, you're going to need a pocket on you, which kind of sucks. So for that being said, I'm going to put Blade in the D tier. Now moving on to Black Panther, we all know that he is probably the second or third most banned character in this game. And there's a good reason for it. He can easily dive your backline with no sound whatsoever. But I do think they actually, in this most recent patch, have buffed his sound. So, or not buffed it, but kind of nerfed it to where you can hear him a lot more easier, and you can actually prepare to hear him come. Now, I think he's kind of a skill check character. If you know what you're doing, he could easily be S tier. But since the majority of people have kind of caught on and is kind of getting annoyed of him, if you have a Loki or even a Rocket or things like that, you're not getting the backline is not getting dove if they're on their P's and Q's about how to avoid him and just get away from him. Like, if you're Loki, you should not be dying to Black Panther. You just shouldn't. And just other characters like that. So if you have a good backline, they're on their P's and Q's, and you're actually peeling for them when he engages because you can hear him a lot better, he is not that bad. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. But since he is banned a lot, and for majority of people, he could go in A tier, not S tier. I don't really think he's up there with Phoenix or anything like that. But even if you have a Bucky or a Mr. Fantastic or something like that, he can easily be countered, or even Penny and Thing. Like, he's just that counterable. So for that reason, I'm going to have to put him in B. Now, moving on to Hawkeye, he's another one of those skill check characters that if you are on your P's and Q's about your mechanics, he can easily take over a whole lobby. So with that being said, if you have decent mechanics, he might go in the S tier. I don't know. I'm going to put him in the A tier. Just because I think he can get outranged, and not really outranged, but outdueled by a Bucky, or even a, I don't know, maybe Phoenix, obviously, and Hela. Like, those are just really good characters that can outrange and outduel him, to where you really need to kind of stand still to, line up that shot. Of course, a good Hawkeye will move as they're aiming, but, just the Hawkeyes I see in my game, they're kind of just standing still, holding their damage to get to 100 and then release it. I'm like, that's not really how you play that character. But, what do I know? I don't play Hawkeye. I just kind of spectate it from a bird's eye view. So just other things like that. I really think he's an A tier character. He's not up there specifically with Phoenix and things like that, but he is a lobby takeover if you know what you're doing. Hela, I'm not gonna lie, I might have to put her in the A tier as well. I do think she's better than Hawkeye, but other than that, I do think she's a really good duelist and a just hit scam character. She does really good damage at any range, and she really has the potential to take over a lobby if you have cracked mechanics. Now, if you don't have cracked mechanics, she's kind of useless, kind of C tier. But of course, let's just base this on if you know what you're doing. She's easily an A tier character. Of course, I think the only person that really counters her is Phoenix. But other than that, she's really, really freaking good. Moving on to Johnny. Now, Johnny has been a lot more banned in this season, and it's for a good reason. Now, I personally do play Johnny Storm, so I know the potential he has. Now, even though he got nerfed in this most recent patch, it wasn't enough to stop him. It really wasn't at all. They nerfed his Pyro Prison. I think that's really about it. But other than that, and he still does a lot of damage. His ultimate is really good. And he's just a really good nuisance in the air. He can really take space if he wants to. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in the S tier, just because of those reasons right there. I do think he counters Ironman and Storm, which we'll get to later. But if they're using their enhanced abilities like Enhanced Storm and Enhanced Wind and Enhanced Laser Beam and stuff like that, he will lose the 1v1. But since his primary attack is kind of like a shotgun, if you get anywhere close to Storm or Iron Man, man, he will easily 1v1 them. And that is really good. So he is the best fighter in the game, in my opinion. Moving on to Iron Fist. Man, even in my lobbies, I'm not going to lie, he is kind of a nuisance. People are still shooting his block. I'm like, dude, you're in Celestial and you're still shooting this dude's block? Like, come on. But just for that reason, I'm going to have to put him in the A tier for that. Like, man, and I think his team up is actually better than most people expect. Like, he can literally heal his whole teammate and give them extra shield just by using his own, kind of meditating ability. And that's really freaking good, in my opinion. And his ultimate is really good to maneuver around if you know how to use it, his mechanics and things like that. Just punching up in the air, punching down in the air, just getting away and really just decimating the enemy front line, their tanks and things like that. That's where he really shines. But if you're not shooting his block, he can easily go down to C tier. But since most people still shoot his block in this game, he's easily A tier, in my opinion. Moving on to Iron Man. Man, there's some good Iron Mans and there's some bad Iron Mans out there. A good Iron Man will have good positioning and can beam you down with his pulse, cannon rifles, just any part of the map. And that's really good. And good Iron Mans know how to use his ultimate, but just because of characters like Mag and Emma and Loki and things like that, it easily is escapable. And as long as your Mag or someone is protecting their backline and always is on their P's and Q's about knowing where you are and stuff like that, it can be easily countered. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in B tier with just the middle of the pack. Now moving on to Magik. I think she's a really good diver. I really think she is. So I'm going to put her in A tier. Now I do play Magik. I really do think she has a good combo potential, but of course she's not the best engager in this game. If you can track her cooldowns and things like that, she can get easily strange ulted or thing ulted or things like that in her ultimate. It's just, you really have to watch her cooldowns, because if not, she can easily take you over and really put pressure on you and overwhelm you too. So that's what I like about Magik. She does really freaking good damage, and she can either really play frontline, or of course she's a flanker, so that's how you're supposed to play her, but she can really do good damage as a frontline herself. But like I said, play her as a flanker. She's really good if you can time her ultimates, if you can time her abilities, and if you have decent mechanics too, where you can aim her dash and things like that. She does really need a good team around her to engage healthy and things like that, to where the whole team, even when they're focused on her team can push up and things like that. So if you have a decent team around you, she can really be useful. Now Mr. Fantastic, he's really good at anti-dive, but that's really about it in my opinion. He's a good third, quote unquote off tank, but other than that, he's really kind of squishy in my opinion. Even with his abilities, like, he can easily explode. He could just easily explode, I'm not gonna lie. But he is very niche, so that's why I have to put him in the C tier. He's really good at anti-dive, but really that's about it. He can get easily outranged, easily outgunned, all that stuff. His ultimate is not really that good in my opinion, and yeah, it's just not good. Maybe on domination maps you can make it work, but other than that, it's not really that good. So, or he's not really that good, so that's why Mr. Fantastic has to go into the C tier. Moon Knight, now he has seen some changes in his life, with buffs to his ultimate and things like that, but I think he's just kind of a tickler. I do think he's underrated, so I'm going to put him in the B tier. But other than that, he does really good tickle damage, but that's about it. Maybe really good Moon Knights will catch the backline off guard, place their onk in the ground and kill them like that. Like, I've seen some really good Moon Knights out there. But other than that, for majority of people, he's kind of middle of the pack, can easily get 1v1, explodes easily, and easily outranged. But other than that, he's middle of the pack. Now for Namor. Now people are kind of polar opposites about Namor. People think, oh, if you don't have Hulk, then he's trash, he's C tier, D tier character. But I'm like, dude, are you seriously relying on a gamma radiated squid to use a character? That is just kind of sad. Like, the squids are already good by themselves, and I really don't think you need the Hulk team up for him to be used at all. Like, if they're running dive, Psylocke, Hulk, something like that, and you're not running Namor just because Hulk is banned, then that's why you're in the rank you are right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's why where you are right now. So I think he's A tier. I'm not gonna lie. With Hulk gamma radiated squid, he is S tier, but he's A tier without it, and that's okay. Like, he doesn't need that team up for him to be used in rank. He's really good, and for most people are trying to, flank with him now, place his two squids, things like that, and then, shoot his ability, his, kind of super speedy dash sword ability or whatever, trident ability, whatever it's called. I don't really know. But other than that, he's really good. And if you're relying on a Namor / Hulk team up to use him, then you are certainly mistaken, and you should be using that character when he is to be used. So for that reason, he's easily A tier. Now for Psylocke, easily the best engager in the game, the best diver in the game, in my opinion. She's better than Magik, she's better than, Black Panther, all of that, and her ultimate's really good if your team can follow up on it, because most of the time, people can just patty cake that ultimate now, and kind of like Storm, people can just patty cake it. But other than that, if you have a good team that engages with you, her ultimate is just easily 1 or 2 or 3 kill, clean up every single fight. It's just really good. You have to have good mechanics with her, I'm not gonna lie, but that's what makes her really good, and that's why she's in the S tier. Because if you have good mechanics, can use her combos effectively, she's easily S tier without a doubt. Scarlet, she's kind of niche in my opinion, kind of like Mr. Fantastic. Not really much to say about her. You know, her ultimate is kind of whack in my opinion, like Mr. Fantastic's. And I think she's only really viable if you have a stranger in your team with that team up. It's really good, but other than that, she doesn't really have a lot going for herself. She can explode easily, and she's kind of like a worse Black Panther. You literally see her coming if she tries to flank, and she just kind of tickles you, which kind of sucks. So other than that, she's kind of niche. Now for Spider-Man, he is a very high risk, high reward player, and just going based on if you're really good with him, he's easily A tier. But for majority, I'm going to put him in the B tier. But Spider-Man is A tier if you know how to use him. He can easily pull you off the map. He has different ways of being a nuisance, whether it's actually killing you or just taking you out of position and 1v1ing you every single fight. Like, it's really good, and kind of like Phoenix, she can be used in a whole lot of different ways. Not necessarily killing, but just being a nuisance, causing a lot of damage and causing people to look at her and Spider-Man. So he's really good for those reasons. His ultimate did get buffed, I think, in the most recent patch, outside of the one with Blade and Johnny and Loki. But other than that, I think he's a really good character. Starlord, I'm going to put him in the S tier. I think he's underrated every season, but you have to have good mechanics with him, which is why a lot of people don't really use him. And the Starlords I see in my game, man, they are such a nuisance to freaking deal with. Like, it's like you have to figure out how to counter him the whole freaking game. Like, if you're not focused on him, he's going to ruin your backline. He is one of the most obnoxious characters in this game for a reason, especially with his his spinning ability with his guns out. Man, it's just such a nuisance and so obnoxious to play against. And his ultimate, we don't even have to talk about that. It's really good if you know when and how to use it, and it doesn't take much skill. So other than that, he's easily S tier, a very, very underrated S tier character. And I even think in my last tier list I made a while ago, I put him in the S tier because he's just that good of a character. Just not a lot of people use him because you have to have cracked mechanics. Now moving on to Storm, I do think she's kind of middle of the pack. She is really good, but like I said, if they have a Johnny or a Hela or anything like that, she's easily just obsolete in my opinion. And as long as you have a good team around you, she has the ability to take over, especially when she turns on her enhanced wind and her enhanced, storm damage. She could move up to the A, but for most people I'm going to put her in the B just because she can easily get countered out of the sky and things like that. So moving on to Squirrel Girl, I think she's really good. Of course, she's really obnoxious to most people in this game, but I'm going to put her in the B tier. And here's why. I think she's easily counterable as long as you have good positioning and just knowing where to look for her. She's really not that bad. And of course, she has a lot of RNG tied towards her, and there's just nothing you can do about it. But what you can do about her is shoot her ultimate when you first see it, try to get out of position for it, and just be a nuisance towards her as she is towards you. So as long as you have good positioning with her and can kind of play around her, her primary attack and things like that, I really think she's not that bad. But other than that, she is pretty good to get around choke points and close choke points and things like that. But other than that, she can easily get dove and easily get countered by flyers and just other things like that. So with that being said, I do think she's the middle of the pack as long as you watch your positioning and things of that nature. Moving on to Punisher, I think he's kind of middle of the pack again because you really need to have a pocket on this character, which kind of sucks because I imagine him kind of like a Soldier 76, of course, without the healing pad and things like that. But he's really not an individual character. You really need a good team around you so where you can have good positioning and really do what it is you need to do, which is deal damage and take space, because that's really what you're good for with Punisher. It is good to get kills and things like that because you're a DPS player, but with his ultimate and things like that, you have to have a bubble on him, you have to have constant healing on him. Like, he's really a baby character, and you really have to really baby and pocket this dude in all aspects of his kit, which is really not that fun and really sucks for a character like Punisher. It's kind of like it's kind of ironic for Punisher to be, you know, getting babied like that, but hey, that's just how it is in this game. So with that being said, as long as you have decent mechanics, especially with the shotgun and things like that, you can make him work, and he is a good space taker. But other than that, he can easily get 1v1, he explodes easily, and you need to have a pocket on him at all times, and that really just stops the individuality of a character like Punisher, which sucks. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in the B tier. So for Bucky, I'm going to put him in the A tier, and here's why. I really think he's a good frontline character and a good anti-dive character, and I really do think he can put up massive amounts of damage if he wants to. And if you can time his ultimate ability really good and things like that, I really do think he can shine in almost any comp in this game. But there is, you know, caveats and things like that. I can't really think on the top of my head right now what kind of counters him right now. Maybe, you know, divers maybe, but I don't know. Like, nah, not really. I'm trying to think on the top of my head right now what really counters him. I really don't think he's S tier, but man, he's just an overall solid pick like Magneto and can really do massive amounts of damage. And if you time his ultimate, he is really an ultimate team wipe killer, and it can really reset the enemy team whenever he wants. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in the A tier. Now moving on to Wolverine, we don't really got to say much about that. He is easily S tier, banned every game in any rank for all the reasons in this game you can possibly think of. Of course, everyone used to think he was trash, and no, that was really the quite opposite of this character. He's really good, he doesn't need the Phoenix, and he can grab just about anyone in this game besides Thing. And that's really about it. And he's really good. You know, they may have Thing and a Penny and things like that, but man, he's just really still that good, and he can take anyone out of their ultimate, or not anyone, but you know, maybe Cloak and Dagger and just certain characters. You really have to know the matchup that you're playing against with Wolverine. And this is just my personal experience, but somehow if Wolverine gets unbanned, the enemy team always gets the better Wolverine, which kind of sucks, but it just is what it is with that game. So man, Wolverine is just one of those characters that he just has an overall great freaking kit. He can grab just about anyone, even flyers, which is freaking crazy. And he has a passive ability that gets him a second life at life, or gets him a second chance at life. And that's just something you can't beat as a character. So with that being said, he's easily S tier. So there you have it, guys. This is my tier list for season 3.5 of Marvel Rivals. Now, I want you guys to look at this tier list and comment down anything below if you agree or disagree with any of my placements I made in this video, and just any of the support or tank placements I made in my previous videos. Be sure to check those out for my explanation about those if you haven't already. But with that being said, thanks for sticking around this long. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.